Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Andy, and the prime directive of my life is to increase the quality of my consciousness and to help others do the same. Today, I wanted to come chat for a minute. It's been a few days since I actually recorded any content. I had one of those weird colds where you have like a little bit of sniffles for 2 or 3 days, and then the mucus that lasts goes for about a week, maybe 2 weeks sometimes. Needless to say, I wasn't comfortable talking with my voice sounding like that. So we're back. We're better than ever. We're feeling great. And in the background, I have been kicking ass and taking names. So it's not like just because I haven't been able to make content that things haven't been taking place in the background. So I'm excited to announce that the ball is still rolling, baby. Just because the videos take a pause for a few days doesn't mean that life does. Well, anyways, wanted to come and chat for a few minutes today about an important topic. It feels like the last couple conversations I've been having with people regarding new habits and setting different priorities up in their lives is they don't quite understand how to set goals. And I know I talk about things like getting your daily work in and the daily activities, and I have kind of outlined how to kind of visualize how you might be able to start living into the frequency of your best self, but I haven't necessarily explained how to set goals. And so I wanted to talk for a few minutes about that today and hopefully give you guys some new insights and new direction with the type of goals that you set for long term as well as the short term. And so just getting right into it, the way that I set goals personally that works for me, and this may or may not work for you, I just have compiled a list of different ways that people set goals and sort of used multiple different angles and created my own way. But the way that I create and set my goals for myself is I always start with the long-term goal. So usually like the long-term goal for me is something that's really grand or really ambitious, like way more ambitious than you might expect yourself to be able to accomplish. There was a saying when I was younger, I think I was like 17 or 18, I had just started getting into personal development and entrepreneurship and working on yourself and all of these things. And there was a quote by one of the big wigs in the business, and it was, "Bite off more than you can chew and chew it anyways." And that has stuck with me for many years, over 10 years since I first heard that quote. And that's pretty much how I base the way, like the criteria for my long-term goal setting is like with that as the underlying premise. Bite off more than you can chew and chew it anyways. So for me, one of my long-term goals is to help reform education in America and ultimately around the world through a series of programs that help students become the best versions of themselves early on, using things like emotional mastery, meditation, energetic understanding of how to read their own energy in different situations and how to help others shift their energy as well. And I think that these types of programs could revolutionize the way that students are educated. I am still in the process of, like, that's like a 30 or 40 year plan. So maybe by the time I'm an old man, I'll have made enough progress with that to say that I'm a success with that goal. But ultimately, if I want to do something that huge, right? Something I don't even think I might be able to accomplish in my lifetime. But again, that underlying premise of bite off more than you can chew and chew it anyways is how I base that goal. And so like having someone say, okay, I have a 30 or 40 year plan for something, how does that make sense? Or like, how can I make that a real thing that I can work towards every day? right? And so the way you do that is, now that I have like the top, like the primary main goal for the next 30 or 40 years, now I start breaking it all the way down. And then I combine the visualization exercises that I have explained in the past, and I basically couple the visualization exercises with this long-term goal, and I start breaking down the day-to-day activities, the day-to-day mindsets, core thoughts, feelings, emotions, and we could get very precise with it, right? And you start figuring out what it is that version of you who has accomplished the 30 or 40-year goal, what does that person do on a daily basis, right? What is their diet like? What kind of friends do they have? What kind of books do they read? What kind of content do they consume? What kind of daily activities are they partaking in on a day-to-day basis? And once you can go through multiple deep visualizations, sometimes it only takes one for some people, right? Some people have a little bit more of an imagination and they can visualize and see these things and start implementing them sooner than others. Some people, it might take a couple sessions. Sometimes it might take a couple months. Either way, what's a couple months or even a couple years in the grand scheme of a 30, 40-year goal? You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about it like that. So it might take you a little bit to really figure out on a day-to-day basis what you're doing as that version of yourself. But once you figure that out, that's when you can start crafting that list of daily action steps that this version of myself would take if I had already achieved the goal that I had set for myself. And so this is going to be different for everyone. So that's why this method for goal setting might sound a little bit vague and a little bit like there's not any sort of definitive nature to it. And that's because it is like a one size fits all, where the approach that you're taking is very much tailored to the individual who is using the method, if that makes sense. So like, there's not a single person who's going to have the same visualizations. There's not a single person who's going to have the same, end goal, and then have that broken down into what they feel that version of themselves would be, or who that person would be on a day-to-day basis. It's going to be different for every single person. And that's why this method might sound a little bit vague or a little bit, well, he didn't give me exact steps, step by step, what to do. And it's because it takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of trial and error to really figure out and dial into that frequency. And so, yeah, that's how I set my goals. And every single day I have a checklist or like a series of things that I'm working on accomplishing. There's like the more important ones on my list. Those are the ones that fuel me up and give me the charge that I need for my mind, my body, and my spirit, right? Those are the most important ones. They're the ones that give me the energy to do all of this. And then there's the other ones like, drink water. Obviously that one is kind of in the same category, but it's a little bit more like surface level, I guess, versus like watching a life purpose course video or, recording content and uploading it. Those are a little bit more of the slightly deeper activities that I partake in day to day that fill me up. But there's also other ones on there like the workbook with my son Wolfgang. We have like a preschool workbook that we work on, and it's colors and shapes, and he works on how to hold a marker and stuff. So there's different stuff on the list that is like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Sometimes I'll even put video games on my list, and that's like tier 3, like super low. Like I got to take care of all my other stuff that's important before I can get down to that tier of activities that I might want to check off my list just to give myself a little free time during the day, and that's pretty sparing. But that's how I set my goals. That's how I utilize the visualization techniques I've talked about in the past to figure out and dial into exactly what it is that I need to be doing on a day-to-day basis. So that way, if I compound those over, say, 20 or 30 years, I'm going to see some crazy results. And I'm about 15 years into the process now, and I'm seeing some crazy results already. And so it's really exciting. Excuse me. It's really exciting what's about to happen in my life personally, both, for my wife's business, my business, my kids' progress as a basketball player on and off the court, and how much I'll be able to pour all of that back into you guys watching these videos, how much I'll be able to invest back into creating the content that helps people become better versions of themselves. And so I'm really excited about that. There's a lot of really cool stuff on the way. I don't want to keep this video too long. I really appreciate you if you made it this far. If you connected with anything I said today about goal setting, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Do you have goals that you have that are super long term, that are very ambitious, that honestly scare you to think about and say out loud to people? If so, let me know what those are down below and what you're doing every day to get after that. Again, if you made it this far, let me a like, comment down below, subscribe, share this with a friend who's trying to learn how to set goals and how to get after them every day. And I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.